It's Peacock Blue Polo Day for some reason. I don't know. Happy Monday. James Lowen here, and I've got a terrific review for you this morning. I know we're talking the bloody crap out of tariffs, but I want to take a little bit of an opposite view of what's good, as possible silver linings, or at least some areas of that we can not be so frustrated right now. And I'm sure you've got a massive hangover after Super Bowl, so maybe I'll whisper this one. Just joking. I'm loud as hell with a huge head, so let's make this smaller as we take a look at, I wouldn't say the goods, but let's just call it some of the opportunities that we see and what might happen. So we're talking about if Trump was to maintain, and this is on if he's going to maintain a 20% with 10% being on oil. Obviously, the U.S. in the interim needs our oil. So they have made threats on removing any economic sanctions, etc. But it's going to take them a long time to do that, right? We've got a lot of refineries just south of us that are designed and structured just for our dirty oil. So it's going to take a bit, but we've got BMO forecasting a 1.5% Bank of Canada rate by the end of year. I want to be clear, and this is the frustration, is that in Canada we have two rates. Well, not many, but we have the overnight lending rate and we have the prime rate that we borrow at right now. If you're wondering what they're talking about here, it's the overnight lending rate. This is the rate to which banks lend to each other and from the government. We borrow at prime. Overnight lending rate, just in case it's not clear, we did have a reduction in January. It is at 3%. Prime right now is at 5.2. So when you're looking at this, it's still a massive drop. That's an expectation drop of 1.5%. We've already had 2% drop. So that's pretty huge. It's going to bring us down quite low. Why is that, right? I mean, and of course, if you haven't figured this out, this is the silver lining, if you will. And it's going to come at some economic folly, but we have, and we want to be clear here on why Trump is so asinine. He's saying he's going to have the market do incredibly well, but have fixed rates in the US are a lot higher than ours right now. It's around 6.5 to 7.5, or we're around like 4.5. So he's saying he's gonna have the market do well, but also have rates go down. This is like trying to suck and blow at the same time. All right. So generally we have decrease in rates when we're in an economic strife or an area of high unemployment, really low inflation, issues going on in the market. I.e., we had the most recent one was this major cold that everyone had known as COVID-19. So how in the hell he's going to supposedly make the market take off while also reducing rates, I do not know. But in Canada, with these tariffs, if we have a 10% even on oil, that is going to be a massive, variance on the price of oil into the U.S. and a reduction in demand of Canadian oil. Multiple numbers onto this one, anywhere from 40% of the U.S. oil comes from Canada. If they're not taking that or that's reduced, that will drop demand for Canadian oil and potentially have a really large unemployment layoff in Alberta. If that was to happen, then all of the influx that Alberta has seen, primarily in Calgary and some parts of Edmonton, would significantly drop. If that happens and unemployment's there and carrying costs are too high, then there's going to be people walking away from the homes. The government wants to avoid that, just like they did in the pandemic. What would that mean? A significant reduction, possibly even as we did during COVID, of an adjustment on prime outside of the regular 8 announcements that we have every year. So silver lining, unfortunately, would come at the big reduction in jobs and potential threat to Calgary home prices and much of Alberta. But the silver lining could be prime coming down another 1.5 for a total of 3.5 reduction by the end of the year. Also, we've seen the major one we have, of course, is in automotive industry. We've got a pretty large automotive industry. There's been reports on this, for example, like Chevy with a lot of their trucks in Silverado. I think that the report was almost 90% of their trucks get exported to the U.S. So you can imagine people working in those plants and on those lines, it's going to be a hell of a lot of unemployment. And that is a lot of Ontario. So similarly, what we are seeing and wondering in Ontario specifically, though, is we know something slightly different going on here. And that is that Ontarians, for the last few years, especially since the pandemic, we have a really high savings rate. So i.e. there has been not as many active buyers in the marketplace, meaning there is pent-up demand. Not penthouse, but pent-up demand. So the argument could be, and we're not sure on the economics front, is, in one sense, if rates go down, then it's cheaper for people to buy. We do have a large savings rate. If you're not in a sector that's affected by tariffs, there's going to be a large onslaught of a lot more buyers into that market, especially first-time home buyers now with the new increased allowance up to 30-year amortization and to 1.5 million insured. So if we have those two plans in place, plus the cost of borrowing is a lot lower and the pent-up demand, meaning there's a lot more savings, there's going to be an onslaught of buyers. Conversely, we're going to have people in the automotive industry now unemployed, bringing that down. Which force is going to be stronger? There's an old joke in saying that if you lined up economists from end to end, you still wouldn't reach a conclusion. So we're going to keep an eye on that just to keep you posted and look at the opportunities, if you will, during this potential tariff scenario and the opportunities where I see in the marketplace still right here. And we're going to see more lenders releasing their forecasts, but most of them we expect to reduce as far as the total discount or increase their discount forecast for 2025. I'm James Lowen. Get your peacock going. Have yourself a fantastic week. Ciao for now.